Romans 10:5 says, "For Moses writes about the righteousness that is based on the law, that the person who does the commandments shall live by them." Paul's point in this verse is that the law, as such, offers life only to those who fulfill, complete, and perform the whole law. It is impossible for us as sinners after Adam's fall to achieve that law-based righteousness, but it was not impossible for Adam, who was created good and upright. We're in a series on covenant theology, and right now we're looking at various aspects of the covenant of works, the first covenant that God made with Adam. This video demonstrates that the covenant of works, which God made with Adam in the Garden of Eden, had the condition that Adam would perfectly fulfill the law. We have seen in past videos that God made the natural law known to Adam and gave Adam the additional probationary command about not eating from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Adam then had the law, and this video shows that the covenant of works condition was to fulfill the law. We saw in Genesis 2:16 and 17 how God set the condition that Adam not break his commands, and the death penalty would be enacted if he broke the law. But Adam also had a positive job to do. He also had to fulfill the law. He had something he was supposed to complete or fulfill. Genesis 1:28 makes this pretty clear. "And God blessed them, and God said to them, 'Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the heavens and over every living thing that moves on the earth.'" God tasked Adam to conquer the earth as his representative king, the vice regent in the world. This was supposed to be the clearest expression of Adam's image-bearing constitution with which God created him. God made Adam in the divine image with, as our confession summarizes, knowledge, righteousness, and holiness, drawing on Colossians 3:10 and Ephesians 4:24. And that meant that Adam should fulfill the law, not just avoid sinning, complete the law. So further, that this condition to keep and fulfill the law with perfect obedience can also be seen from more reflection on other scriptures. So Leviticus 18, verse 5 says, "You shall therefore keep my statutes and my rules. If a person does them, he shall live by them. I am the Lord." Paul interpreted this verse for us in Romans 10:5. "For Moses writes about the righteousness that is based on the law, that the person who does the commandments shall live by them." In this context, Paul quoted Leviticus 18:5, even if it was surrounded by ceremonial laws in the original context, in order to explain why many of the Jewish people were failing to obtain salvation. They failed because they pursued justification by the law. Moses had written about this works righteousness, but it required perfect obedience so that if anyone relies on the law, they would obtain life by it, but only if they kept the law perfectly. Now, Paul affirmed this principle in more explicit form in Galatians 5:3 and 4, which says, "I testify again to every man who accepts circumcision that he is obligated to keep the whole law. You are severed from Christ. You who would be justified by the law, you have fallen away from grace." The clear point here was that if we rely on any one single point of the law in order to be justified, then we are obligated to keep the law at every single point. The phrase "to keep," or as some English versions say, "to obey," indicates the requirement to complete the law, to fulfill its every principle, mark its every requirement. So then, the law which was given to Adam in the covenant of works, requires perfect obedience to earn blessings by it. Romans 2:12-15 makes the point very clear that the law, as the covenant of works, requires perfect obedience. It says, "For all who have sinned without the law will also perish without the law, and all who have sinned under the law will be judged by the law. For it is not the hearers of the law who are righteous before God, but the doers who will be justified. For when Gentiles who do not have the written law by nature do what the law itself requires, they are a law to themselves, even though they do not have the written law. They show that the work of the law itself is written on their hearts, while their conscience also bears witness, and their conflicting thoughts accuse or even excuse them." Paul clarified in Romans 3:19 and 20 very plainly that no one had ever actually done this. We are condemned by the law. The law was built into creation as the standard of righteousness before God. One sin would break the law and bring condemnation. Adam was supposed to fulfill the law in order to attain justification, as we must do if we want to be justified by the law. Adam was created with the ability to do that, but failed. His sin rendered the rest of us completely unable to fulfill the law for our right standing with God. When we get together next time, we're going to think about the reward that was offered upon this condition that Adam failed to win for his posterity.